Hey everyone, imagine for a second that you've been cleared of a crime. You'd think that means a totally clean slate, right? Especially when you're trying to get a government job. Well, a recent Supreme Court ruling says, it's actually not that simple. Let's get into why an acquittal might not be the golden ticket you think it is.
So let's just ask the question straight up. If a court clears your name, does that automatically mean you're guaranteed a government job? You'd think the answer would be a simple, yes, of course, but a recent case shows there's a really important and kind of complicated wrinkle to this.
And to really get our heads around this, we're not going to just talk about legal theories. We are going to follow the real story of one man whose entire career was hanging on the answer to this very question.
So let me introduce you to Raj Kumar Yadav. He wanted to become a constable in the Madhya Pradesh police force. He even passed the first round of recruitment, but then gamed the background check, and that's where his dreams hit a major roadblock, kicking off a legal fight that went all the way to the top.
So what exactly happened here? Let's trace his journey, a journey that turned a pretty standard job application into a major Supreme Court case.
Okay, so here's the play-by-play. Back in 2012, Raj Kumar was accused of some really serious crimes. 2 years later, in 2014, the trial court acquitted him. You think, great, case closed. But no. When he applied for that police job, his past came up during the character verification, and boom, his application was rejected. And it was that rejection that he decided to fight, taking his case to the highest court in the country.
And we really need to be clear about just how serious these original charges were. This wasn't some minor thing. The accusations involved kidnapping a minor girl, criminal conspiracy, and even rape. These are heavy, and these details are absolutely crucial for understanding why everything unfolded the way it did.
And this right here, this is the heart of the matter. The trial court didn't say you were innocent. What they basically said was the prosecution just didn't bring enough evidence to prove you're guilty. See the difference? It's not a declaration of innocence, it's what's called a failure of proof. He was let go by being given the benefit of the doubt.
And that phrase, benefit of the doubt, is where this whole story pivots. It turns out there's a massive legal difference in how a person is acquitted, and believe me, it makes all the difference in the world.
Okay, let's break this down. On one hand, you have what's called an honorable acquittal. This is a total, complete, clean slate. The court is 100% satisfied that you are innocent, that you didn't do it. But then, on the other hand, you have an acquittal on benefit of doubt. And this happens when the prosecution they can't make their case. It doesn't mean the court thinks you're innocent. It just means your guilt couldn't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
So in Raj Kumar Yadav's situation, his acquittal fell right into that second category, benefit of doubt. He wasn't proven innocent. The case against him just wasn't proven. And this single, seemingly small detail is what the entire Supreme Court decision would hinge on.
So with this key distinction in mind, the case lands in front of the Supreme Court. Now they've got to weigh his right to get a job against the duty of an employer, especially a sensitive one like the police force.
And the verdict? It was crystal clear. The Supreme Court sided with the employer. They said the Madhya Pradesh police force was totally within their rights to deny him the job, even though he had been legally acquitted.
So you're probably asking, why? What was the court's reasoning? Well, it really came down to a few key points. First off, police forces, they need to have the absolute highest standards of integrity. Second, the original charges against him were incredibly serious. Third, and this is the big one, that acquittal on benefit of doubt, it is not a clean slate. And finally, an employer has a right and even a duty to look at a candidate's entire background, not just the final verdict of a single court case.
Now, this isn't just one person's story. The rules the Supreme Court laid out here have very real, practical implications for anyone out there applying for a government job, especially in a sensitive post.
So, what should you take away from all this? Number one, always disclose everything. Hiding a past case is pretty much an automatic rejection if they find out. Number two, get this, the type of acquittal you got really matters. An employer can legally look into whether you were cleared honorably or just because there wasn't enough proof. And third, it's a balancing act. The nature of the job you're applying for will be weighed against how serious the original crime was. A job that requires public trust, like a police officer, is going to be under the toughest microscope. If you boil this whole thing down to one single sentence, it's this: just because you were acquitted of a crime does not give you an automatic right to a government job. The employer still gets to make the final call on your overall character and if you're a good fit. And that leaves us with a really big, tough question, doesn't it? As a society, we all want public services and institutions that we can trust completely.
But we also believe in second chances. So if someone is legally cleared, where do we draw the line? At what point is a slate truly wiped clean? This case doesn't give us an easy answer, but it definitely makes you think about where that line should be drawn. Thanks for tuning in.